Hello everyone, we are back with another episode on GTV2. If you're new here, this is where I teach genealogy in real time almost. Sometimes I will pause the recording while I read through something, but for the most part this is a little bit slower pace. If you want that fast-paced lesson, go over to Genealogy TV. That is the primary channel, and things are edited there. But here we're taking it a little bit slower and researching. Now today I'm going to be researching Anker Jensen, and I have been avoiding this for a while because Anker was born in Denmark. And there's some real challenges. First of all, I don't speak Danish, and reading the records in Denmark in some of these archives is a bit of a challenge. As you can see, the headers are in foreign language, and trying to read some of this foreign language handwriting is a bit of a challenge. But I've got some tricks that I'm going to show you as to how I do that. So we're going to dig into where I'm at in my process with Anker Jensen. And sorry if my throat is a little froggy. I'm still recovering from a cold that started back in November, and it's still going. So here are my research notes. And this is what I have accomplished so far. So as you can see here, I have really kind of enjoyed having this very top section. It's like when I'm closing out for the day, the first thing I do, well, I should say the last thing I do, is I write these notes in red. It's like I left off with, I still need to do, I need to finish cleaning up the records in his files and add them to my notes. I need to clean up duplicate notes. These are just things that I noticed when I first came back to his profile. Let me get back up to the top. His profile, I also use the tree tags sometimes, and I'll show you how that works. But so I'm like going through here and I'm going, all right, well, I've got 1920 census records. I need to clean that up. It looks like I might have some duplicate church records here. This, over the years, you just accumulate stuff and it's a bit of a mess. And so I need to clean up a lot of this. And so while I have a nice list of things to do, there's no way we're going to get through all of this in one video. So I promise you. So we're just going to go as far as we can. So a lot of what I do also, as my daughter would say, yes, and, is I put hyperlinks to him. So he was born Anker Larentzen Jensen on Ancestry. That's his link to him on Ancestry. Then I put a link to him on FamilySearch, and I put a link to him in WikiTree. Now, WikiTree you might not even be aware of. WikiTree is another free platform where you can build a family tree. And let me minimize this. This is him on WikiTree, and I'll explain WikiTree here in a few minutes. Long story short, it's a free place where you can do research. The thing that I like about it, while it is also a world collaborative tree, I'll show you the tree. Wait for it. I'm going to change this because I love they have this really cool fan chart. And go, Connie. So if I scroll back just a little bit, here's Anker Jensen right here, because I went to the fan chart from the profile, not from me in the profile. So I could go back to my home. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to where I was, because we'll need to talk about that more here in a minute. Wait a second. Where'd he go? Anker. There we go. Now we're back. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start over here on Ancestry. And let me just explain a couple things. This is my great-grandmother, so that makes him my great-great-grandfather. So he was born in Denmark in 1856. And he immigrated to the United States. I don't know, when did he immigrate? Somewhere around 1881, it looks like. And then he moves to Utah. Well, first Wyoming, then Utah, then Washington State, where he dies. So tracing this guy was a bit of a challenge because he kept moving. And for the longest time, we didn't have the 1910 census until I finally found it. He's there, and then he goes to Seattle, and in between, in 1900, I had the date wrong there, he's in Provo, Utah. So he starts out in Wyoming, and then Provo, Utah, then back to Wyoming, then to Seattle. So this guy is kind of all over the place. But he was born Anker Larentzen Jensen in Denmark, but when he came to the United States, he changed his name to Lawrence Johnson. So let's take a look at the files for a second. So here are my files. Just ignore all that. So over here, Jensen Johnson. The reason I do this is because, okay, so everybody has surname folders, right? But because he changed his name, I use Jensen-Johnson so that I know who it is. Now, if you'll notice here, there are other people by the same name. And so we have to be very careful. For example, this Anker Larentzen Jensen is the son of this Anker Larentzen Jensen. And he tragically dies in a boating accident. And so I'm going into into the 1856 folder, and I'm going to open up my research notes, which I think I already have open, as you saw. So one of the things I also do, and actually I'm going to put in here a find a grave, and we'll talk about that here in a second, link. But one of the things that I did along the way as I was going through the profile, wait for it, as I was going through his profile, I had him on Find a Grave, and I'm going to pull that up. I might as well talk about that right now. I'm going to pull that up in Firefox because I've removed all of the ads for your viewing pleasure. It's annoying, the ads that they have, and I have an ad blocker on Firefox. So Lawrence A. Johnson. So what happened here is I am now the proud owner of this memorial because this person over here who put up this photograph has thousands and thousands of memorials. Some people just do this as a hobby, and so there was nothing here other than this headstone and some brief information from the headstone. And so I reached out to that person and I said, hey, can you transfer? So you have to do that through the link at the bottom. Usually there's a link down at the bottom that says contact the originator. And you can contact that originator and say, hey, can you transfer this to me? This was my, and you have to, a lot of times they want to know who you are, your relationship to this person. I said, this is my great-great-grandfather. I have a ton of information about him. I would like to add some more of that information. Well, I started to do that here. Just some brief information. And some of that I copied from WikiTree. I know I'm going around in circles here, but this is kind of a story. So I am not, as I said, I don't read Danish records, but I did find the original church records on WikiTree for some of his, a couple of records anyway. And then on WikiTree, hang on, wait for it, I'm looking for him here. Okay, so he's down here as the father. It says Anker Larentzen Jensen, as the father of my great-grandmother Francisca Emily Cornelia Jensen. So he's listed in this record, which is one of the reasons why it's in his profile on Ancestry. All right, we're going to get back to those Danish records here in a minute, and I'm going to show you a couple tricks. So I think my goal here today is to show you some of the tricks that I have already learned along the way And one of which is on these Danish records is how to read them, right? I mean, do you read Danish? I don't. Now, I do have two people that I am absolutely grateful to for helping me translate stuff. One is a cousin who I met through Facebook, who I can send an image to and maybe the hyperlink, and he will in a minute, within, I don't know, a few hours, translate it for me and send it back. So you might be able to find some special interest groups on Facebook or some other social media that will help you translate. The other thing I do is I go and I grab my snipping tool. This is my snipping tool. If you're on Windows, you probably have it. Just go to the search box in the lower left corner and type snipping tool, or you might have Snagit or something like that. So what I do is I go hit new, and then I will copy the headers. And this actually works in some cases for the handwriting as well. So I'm going to copy this, right? So this is the little screenshot I just grabbed. So I hit the little copy tool. I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to go over to Google Translate, and I'm going to say images. And now I can just paste this, Control V to paste, and it automatically transcribes it for me. So now it says groom's name, age, handle, I think means more like a position in the family, or a relationship, or I'm not exactly sure. And then we have the bride's name. And then, so what I will do then is I will actually copy this image, and then I will go over to my research notes and I will paste it in. And that's exactly what I did here, was I pasted in the translated. So here's the image, right? But here's the translated image. Now, is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, but boy, it sure helps me to understand. First of all, groom and bride, this is a marriage record. Okay, so here's Anker Larentzen Jensen, and you can see that, well, I'd have to get really far in. This is also, a low-res copy. But when you're looking at the original, you can kind of get a view of it. So that's now pasted into my research notes because I want it easy at my fingertips as I'm trying to do some research. And so it's not perfect, but it certainly helps. And so when it comes to this handwriting, that's when I'll reach out to either my cousin or this gentleman that helped put this stuff together. Ol, I appreciate you. He did a lot of this work, and he's offered. The other thing about WikiTree is your real email address is available to anyone on here. So just be aware of that. But I have sent him a message and said, hey, can you translate this for me? And he got back to me right away. And so I'm very, very grateful for that. I also, you can copy the link and then put that into your research notes as well. And so that's what I did here at the top, is I put that in. So that is wildly helpful. So I'm going to try. We're going to see if this will work. This is a total experiment live, right? We're over here. I'm going to go back to my snipping tool just to see if, hang on a second, I gotta undo that for a second because I want to zoom in a little bit. I want to see if Google Translate can read this handwriting. I don't know. Let's see. So I'm going to grab, so column 2, this is 1879, by the way. I'm going to grab this information right here. Now, keep in mind that even this information over to the right is part of his family as well. But just for this demonstration, I'm going to copy this. So I just hit that copy right there. I'm going to go over to Google Translate, and all I'm going to do is go to text and come back to images. Oh, it's not going to do that. All right, so maybe I have to close it out here. All right, here we go. And now I can, paste from clipboard. Look at that. It's translating. All right, so it did translate some of it. So he was a baker. That was his occupation. And so it did try to translate some of it. Her name was Christiane Schroeder. So it missed some of it. But look at that. I mean, it's a help. It's a start. It's not perfect. But this would be also where I reach out to my Danish-speaking, Danish reading folks and say, hey, can you help me out? But that's pretty cool. It didn't get Sorensen right. Or Larentzen, but it did get some of it. So again, take it with a grain of salt, but it helps. All right, back to this. Let's clean up some of this. So we have 3 1920 census records. Now I'm pretty sure I already have in my notes. Let me back up so I can scroll faster. 1920. See, everything's in chronological order. This is why you do this. I'm pretty sure I already got this in here. I've been working on this while I was recovering and trying to get my voice back, which clearly is not back. All right, so I do have the 1920 census in here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to double check to make sure that there aren't 3 different 1920 census records. So I'm going to hit View, and I can see at a glance this is Lawrence R. Johnson, Denmark, Seattle, Washington. Let's just double check. This is sheet 4B. Okay, backing up to his profile again. One of the things I like to do is see where it draws. So it's the last 2 children are still living in the household, and his wife. This is another thing I need to clean up. These are the same people. And so this one doesn't draw anywhere, and this one draws just to the gender. So let's double check. So that was, let me double check again. I'm pretty sure that was sheet 4B. I'm going to go back in and check. Yep, sheet 4B. Seattle, Washington. All right, so we're going to go to the next one. We're going to look at this one. I'm almost positive it's the same thing. Yep, sheet 4B. So we don't need this one. So I'm going to clean this up. So I'm going to hit View. I'm going to come to the bottom. I'm going to say Remove. Remove. Bye-bye. Okay, now we should have, as soon as it refreshes, we should only have, let me refresh this page. We should only have 1, I should say 2 of the 1920 census records, whereas we had 3 before. This one is the one that only draws to gender. I'm almost positive this is the exact same one. We'll view it again, double check, sheet 4B, yep, it's the same one. So I'm going to get rid of that one. Whoops, I hit the wrong button. I'm going to go to this one, scroll to the bottom, say remove, bye-bye. And if you'll notice in this one, this confirms some things about him. He was a baker. He worked in the bakery industry, and I believe he owned his own bakery. I remember hearing about him when I was a kid. All right, so that cleaned that up. So, of course, we don't have an 1890 census because it was destroyed. Family trees, I typically just blow these away. I'm just going to remove this. Look, let's go look. Yep. It's like, typically, I have 18 sources. They have 11. By the time I am done doing what I'm doing, I have more than most. So I typically just remove these family trees. Why, you ask? Well, let me show you. Because we could also look at them through Member Connect. So if we go to Member Connect, there are 8 connections here. And these connections, I'm not going to open it up because then I have to blur everything out. But these 8 connections are people that I have already connected with. It doesn't mean that they even know I'm connected, but I'm kind of following their journey as they are researching the same person, right? And over here under suggested connections, if there were people that I hadn't connected with, you would see them in this list, and I could click on connect. That doesn't mean I'm emailing them. It doesn't mean I'm contacting them. I'm connecting because their tree is similar to mine, and they basically are probably cousins, and they're researching the same person. So recent activity would show anything that somebody else in those 8 members, in my case, those 8 people would maybe have updated something. So you might want to check back with Member Connect every now and then. So the other thing you need to know about this only is per ancestor. So if I go and I look at some of his children, like my great-grandmother, that Member Connect, I'd have to go through that same exercise and connect with those people through Francis as well. Francisca. She went by Francis in the United States. So, Lawrence Johnson, I went and did some research on him. I tried first Anker Larentzen Jensen, and actually I did this exercise. Let's go over to FamilySearch for a second. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Wait for it. I had to sign in over here because I hadn't signed in yet. So if you go down to the bottom and you go into the View Experiments, and you go, this is the Research Labs, and yay, it's turned on today. It's been going off and on for the last couple days. So I went in and I clicked on that full text search, and this is huge. This is one of the biggest developments in the genealogy industry in the last year. And so it is an experiment, and it is still in beta. So the cool part about this is you can search handwriting and you can search text. So it goes beyond OCR. If you're familiar with optical character recognition, this also reads handwriting. So at first what I did was, let's go over to his name. I'm just going to copy this because I'm too lazy to type it. Control-C. And go back over here. Whoops. Over here. And I'm going to hit paste. And I'm going to say he was born in like 1856, I believe it was. When did he die? 1939. So we're going to go 1939. And now he's in my tree on FamilySearch. So it's going to know, kind of, that I'm searching for him. But what I was doing was I was trying to find some probate information or some land records or something. So I'm going to give the location to be where he died, because we're kind of going after probate. So Seattle, King County, Washington. So we're going to go King County, Washington. And we always want to pick the drop down. So these are standardized places, okay? And then I'm going to hit search. Wait for it. And it comes up with a variety of records. And you can see just because I searched Anker Larentzen Jensen, which was his name at birth, but he died in King County, Washington, as Lawrence Johnson. So is Anker Martin Jensen actually interesting? Oh, that might be a citizenship record for another ancestor. Interesting. So anyway, boy, they've added naturalization petitions in here. This is new. Interesting. All right, so Anker Martin Jensen is somebody else that I might want to take a look at later. So it's basically, at a glance, look, there's 18,000 records here. And this is a delayed birth record. This is new. So normally it was just land records and probate packages. In the United States, Australia, I think Mexico has some. And so long story short is I'm not going to really find it here because of the name. See, it normally would highlight the whole thing if I had the right guy. But none of these are, see, it's even King County. It's highlighting that. So let's change this to Lawrence. I think he went by Laurence, Lawrence Johnson, and hit search. We wait for it. All right, that's probably not him. He died in 1939. This is a death certificate from 1942. So we're going to scroll through here, but at a glance, I'm not finding what I want. Now, I'm wondering, what if we were to put quotes around this, which is one of their tips, and see if we get any better results. King County, death certificate 1942. Full name Kenneth Lawrence Johnson. That's not him. Kansas naturalization records. Deeds. So you're getting the idea how to research here. I'm not going to continue to bore you with trying to find him in here. I don't see him offhand. Normally I have a lot of luck, but it could be that there's just nothing here to find. But we're down to 46. Look, because let's change this to a W, just for grins and giggles. Lawrence Johnson, that's 1924. Place of death. I don't know. If I missed it, you guys can holler at me in the comments. But oh, Pauline was his wife. All right. I'm not going to open this up because YouTube will take me down. But I'm going to go look at this for a second. So I'm going to pause the video. Okay, so I'm going to just briefly show this to you. And I'm blurring everything out because I don't want YouTube to take down the video. They seem like every time I show a death certificate, they want to take the video down. But this is him. And the reason why it caught my eye was because I saw his wife's name. And so, YouTube, before you think about taking me down, this is from decades and decades ago. There is no personal identifiable information on here. This is people from the 1800s and early 1900s. So I hit the download button and I zoomed in like crazy so I don't have to blur out a bunch of information. But you can download the information as a PDF. In this case, I'm saying no highlights because I just want to grab the whole thing. And then I also want to grab the transcription and the citation, of course. So now I'm going to be able to download that and have that in my files. Okay, here's a tip. So in looking at that closer, that was his wife's. So I'm in the genealogy archives. That was his wife, Pauline's death certificate, where he was named in there. But I don't know for sure what her maiden name is. So I'm going to stick this in his file for right now. And so I'm just going to Control V to paste it. Oh, so we're going to have to blur this part out too. But yeah, so that was her death certificate. He is named in there as being his wife, and it gave some good information about their address and that she was born in Denmark as well. And so good stuff. So that was this one here. And so, you get the idea. So even though the death certificate was for his wife, it also gives us evidence of marriage, right? Because they're named as spouse in the death certificate. So anyway, this is all great information from the 1920s, 1930s. It takes some time to go through here. I'm not going to bore you with that because I wanted to show you some tips on how to do this. So that was on FamilySearch, right? On the home page, you scroll all the way down and you click on the View Experiments and then click on Go to Experiment. If you've never been there before, you'll see a green button like this. It says Try it, turn it on, and then Go to Experiments. This is huge game changer in the world of genealogy in the past year. So, yeah, very, very cool information. So that's my action plan. I mean, you kind of got a sneak peek at how I've been doing some of this. I do like putting these into my research notes just because it is so much faster. I will put both the Danish version and the translated version next to each other, so it's very clear that, you know, the original and the translated version from Google Translate. I find it extremely helpful. I even included a screenshot showing where I'm getting some of this from and some of the translation. So, long story short, I've got work to do. I'm not going to continue. Oh, sorry to make you dizzy. I'm not going to continue to bore you with this, but this is my little action plan. I'm going to kind of work through every single one of them and slowly check them off so that I can get back to working on the next generation, which then I can change this little circular icon to a green check mark, meaning I've done my due diligence, all my research notes and all of the targeted research if needed. So targeted research is basically like when I'm going after something specific, like the probate package. And I'm going to look on Ancestry and all these different places to go look for those probate packages. Since he died in the state of Washington, I could probably even go to the state archives online and see if I can find it there. So then I want to go and start doing more verification, right? I've got them in my tree, but I don't really have them verified yet. And as soon as I get them verified, like for example, let's go back to him. I mark him as verified, right? And then I can move on to the next one. And I like to use these little emojis. I know they're kind of ugly on the tree, but they help me at a glance. So if we go to, hang on a second, if we go to the home person, which is me, at a glance I can kind of see where I left off. And the little book icon, by the way, means that I have research to do on location. So I've completed this guy, but there's a record that I want to see at the North Carolina State Archives. So next time I go to North Carolina State Archives, I can look up that record. So that's just my little hint to me that there's something to look up there. But you can see I'm kind of working from the top to the bottom. Now I've done this genealogy. I've got some of these branches that go back to like 900. And they're all unverified, in my opinion, until I've gone through and done this research notes process that I do. And the reason why I do that is because I can absolutely guarantee that my tree is accurate where those check marks are. And so, while I know that a lot of this is accurate, I just haven't done the full set of research notes to my standards. That's just me. But you do you. I'm going to sign off for now, so we'll catch you in the next video.